Hey guys, Off the Mic Sports Network here. Another edition of Off the Top Rope. So I need to address something. I feel like, going through a lot of loose odds and ends here from just that train wreck of a Dynamite show that happened on Wednesday. There was a story that came out in the Wrestling Observer newsletter from Brian Alvarez that basically said, if you guys remember the botch fest that was that tag match, that no DQ tag match with Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford taking on Harley Cameron and Anna Jay, where both Anna Jay and Harley Cameron were had their noses broken. Like that led to the finish of the match. There was a botched doomsday device, which I don't know how the fuck you can botch a doomsday device at this stage of the game. When it's just one of the easiest tag team maneuvers to execute properly. It really is. It's an electric chair clothesline. It's not that hard to execute. It really isn't. And they botched the finish and it looked terrible. But Brian Alvarez said in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that Harley Cameron, the spot where she was bleeding from her nose, was fake and she was really hurt in the match at Double or Nothing. And a lot of people are praising Harley Cameron, saying, wow, she's a great seller. She's a great seller. Okay. And let me be clear before I jump into this. I am not in any way trying to disrespect Harley Cameron. I think she is an incredible talent. If you think that this was a work, you are a mark. And you are just trying to believe anything that they are selling to you. And Brian Alvarez can occasionally know some certain things. He's got inside sources on this, but this is a AEW PR fed story to try and do damage control for how bad that match looked for AEW. Because I said it on Wednesday when the match happened. That match was unnecessary. It didn't need to happen. It didn't prove anything. It didn't help anyone. People got hurt. It was an awful look for everybody involved in it. It just didn't make any sense to rehash a match that happened at the pay-per-view. Granted, it was on the buy-in, and then just do it in a no DQ fashion 3 days later. Because here's the reason why I think that this is bullshit. AEW does not do fake blood. They don't do fake blood. They blade occasionally. So why would they do a fake broken nose spot? Why would they do a fake broken nose spot? And then separate from that, why would they do that when Harley Cameron is injured and saying that they're going to give Harley Cameron time off? Why would they do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you have an injured wrestler participate in a 15-minute no DQ match? Near the end of the match, this spot happens, and you write her off. That doesn't make any sense. This is 100% damage control. No, not the WWE group. I'm not talking about that because Dakota Kai may be in AEW sooner rather than later. This was damage control 100% from AEW because they got a ton of bad feedback between that and the Kyle Fletcher spot that happened later on in the show. It was a bad night for them. There was unnecessary spots that were taken. There were unnecessary risks that were taken. And again, it goes back to the one premise that was said in this thing where they were trying to frame Harley Cameron as this hero, which, she's already for somebody of her, novice talent level and, her green talent level, it's been really entertaining. Honestly, one of the few bright spots in the women's division when they've buried everybody, and she's kind of been buried in the process. But I don't know how you could look at that and then basically say, oh, she was hurt. They were trying to write her off. Well, then why did you do the match in the first place? And separate from that, why you did that spot literally with 5 minutes to go in the match, and then she comes back in and she's part of the finish? Why are you putting her at risk if we don't even know what the injury is? Also, she was covering up her nose, and I think Penelope Ford, part of the reason I talked about the botched finish, I think Penelope Ford didn't want to hit her. And I think Harley Cameron didn't want to get hit either because she was really injured because of that broken nose spot. So instead of lying to your fan base, instead of lying to the wrestling media and lying to everybody, why take these unnecessary risks to prove a point? Because the other part of this is the women's division is not very good right now. Separate from, obviously, you having that main event, which I'm not as high on as many. Like I said, it's really, they're doing the match based on vibes and aura. That's really what it is with Mercedes Moné and Toni Storm. But this was a botch fest, and then them doubling down on this and basically saying, "Yeah, hey, we did this match because, hey, we needed to write Harley Cameron off." Well, then the fuck? You did the match at the pay-per-view. She was hurt in the match, and then you run it back again and do an injury spot to a broken nose that looked really bad? Even if that was fake, that's a terrible idea. And I don't believe it for a second that it was, because it doesn't make any sense. And then when you get to the finish, you could see the finish was botched because I think they were scared. That's the only way I can think of that you can botch a doomsday device, is if somebody's scared of hitting somebody else, or if you don't jump far enough, which you should be able to do that. You should be able to execute it, because but then again, there's no production meetings and stuff in this company anyway, so it doesn't surprise me that this was botched. But they missed her. Harley looked like she was covering herself up. She was trying to protect the broken nose, and she was visibly trying to gasp for air. If you want to believe that that's selling, God bless you. Harley hasn't been in this business long enough. So it's just, man, I saw this story and I almost had to laugh, but I felt kind of sad, because it's like, man, why are you subjecting women and then you're doubling down on it hey, we didn't do anything wrong. We were doing this because it was a story. Like, when the hell have you guys even tried to tell a story in your women's division, or even tried to do something like that, period? Most of your spots in these matches aren't selling. They're done intentionally just because, hey, you want to have graphic natures to your things, which is fine. You're allowed to do blood more so than what WWE does. That's totally fine. But it's got to mean something. And it's like, listen, if that was your idea to get Harley Cameron off of television, it's like, dude, why subject her to a 15-minute match and, put her at risk to even get further injured? She was really hurt. She shouldn't have been involved in the match. She shouldn't have been in the finish. And and it's just like, looking at all the pieces and all the specific things to this just felt incredibly like a damage control. And for AEW to just double down on it like they did, hey, we're like, listen, we think we did something right here. This is just to qualify what they did. It was an unnecessary match. Stop trying to qualify it. It was a bad match. It was a bad finish. There was 2 people who got injured, whether you want to admit it or not. It didn't look good. So I hope Harley Cameron gets well. I hope Anna Jay gets well, because there was no speculation on what happened with her. I think it's because the Harley injury looked a lot worse than the Anna Jay injury, even though Anna Jay landed nose first on a chair, which just shouldn't happen. There was just a bunch of nonsense that happened in this match that, like, you can't defend it. You just can't defend it. And this happens way too often in that place. It's really just embarrassing. So, anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.